Hey, welcome to the Goddess Hour. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about a download that I received from Spirit. And this download I have been getting probably for the past month, but it's really starting to become way more potent, getting closer to eclipse season. And it made me realize when I had got this download about a month ago that it was showing that a lot of us who are oracles and a lot of us who are prophetess, we get those channelings of things going on with the collective, what's going on in the universal realms, how it's manifesting here to the collective. And that's what we're going to talk about. This episode is about a biblical correlation, but also a universal correlation. The divine masculine and the divine feminine is merging as one again. Now, I know it sounds weird, but I'm going to give some biblical preferences as well as some esoteric universal energy as well. But we are elevating. We are already in elevation of a higher frequency of love in this realm. We're no longer in the 3D dimension anymore. This dimension is ascending or have already ascended to the fourth dimension. Now, this happened really strong around Aquarius season, which was around February. This was one of the reasons why, like, a lot of people during February had all of these anxiety issues and people felt really off emotionally and mentally. And it's because we're literally evolving into a higher frequency of love. So a lot of people who had blockages in their heart chakra, still not dealing with their pain, still not dealing with their emotional trauma, it's pretty much going to be kind of painful for those. This is the time where therapy is recommended. People starting to go to counseling, people starting to face their emotional trauma head on, because in order for us as a collective to go into this new frequency, we have to open our heart chakras. We have to bring in love. We have to bring in the energy of compassion, empathy, unity. We're in a space where Spirit is elevating us to such a high frequency of unconditional love with one another that people's backgrounds are not even going to matter anymore. Whether you have a different religious background, racial background, it makes you realize that as humanity, we all want the same thing, and that is to be free and to have love. And because of that, there cannot be no particular identity on that. And this is a part of the age of Aquarius, because Aquarius is the age of humanity coming back together. And of course, it has to get bad first before it gets good. But, you know, I can see here how a lot of people is going through those major spiritual activations. I would say the major activations that I see in the chakras for the collective right now is definitely the heart and the solar plexus. The solar plexus chakra deals with the sun energy. It deals with the inner child. It deals with a lot of gifts and talents, confidence, but mainly inner child. So you can see the correlation where as we are dealing with our pains and our traumas and our anxieties, the inner child is being more attended to. We are in a society here, at least here in America, where a lot of people's on a go, and people don't really have time to really focus on themselves or what they want to do. We're in a place in, heck, maybe even all over the world culturally, where a lot of people's expected to be a particular way, to be accepted, to be a certain status, to be accepted, to, oh, you got to be this way, you got to be that way. It's always people projecting on what you should be instead of you choosing who your heart is calling you to be. So I feel like because we are also dealing with all these transits in Aries, including the North Node in Aries, it is really teaching a collective to find their own identities right now. We can no longer allow social pressures, society pressures from our loved ones and other people that has projected so many different kind of traumas onto us to the point where that we don't know who we are anymore. So a lot of people is really going through a major identity switch right now that is leading to this space of following the heart, opening the heart, self-love frequency is elevating in that space as well. So we are in cardology in this Eight of Hearts year, where this is the power of love, mending relationships in a healthy way. And it's really interesting because not only is the South Node in Libra showing to the collective that we have to let go of unhealthy relationships that is not in alignment with our authentic selves, that's codependency issues, or having some really bad, unhealthy karmic patterns in love, is really forcing people to break apart and repel from that even more, including marriages. Why? Because there's so many people in the world that we have a different frequency of love for, that we can have the love that we desire. We don't have to suffer with love. We don't have to wait for someone to be right for us. We're learning that, hey, I can go with this alone and just really align myself with who I am first, and then the right people will come in my life, then the right particular love, then the right friendships and associates will come in my life if I just recenter my energy around me first. And I feel like a lot of people are so scared to put themselves first or to be alone until the right people come along. But this is what spirit is shifting for a lot of people who has issues in that area. So we just had that full moon eclipse in Libra. We had that full moon eclipse in Libra. And this lunar eclipse is going to last for the next 3 months. So you're going to see a lot of major upheaval surrounding relationships, especially during Mercury retrograde on the 1st of April, where a lot of people's going to be speaking their truth. They're going to be a little bit more bold and assertive in their communication. There's a lot of people who is very passive aggressive, holding on to their throat chakras and closing off. Another, activation that's going to happen to the collective is the throat, your power center, your authentic self. A lot of people's going to be finding their true higher purpose, their life purpose, and their true soul paths at this time as well. So we see here, with, on the dark side of Libra, people can get lost in relationships and their identity. People can have issues with imposter syndrome. They can have issues with their self-concept, where they think they are one way. In reality, they're not. They're operating on their identity based off of fear and trauma and mental conditioning that they've learned growing up from other people who was projecting their own traumas onto you, And so we're in this space now where what's universally shifting is we've been in this space with the masculine for so long around the world that the world is very apathic, is very detached. There's a lot of division, there's war, there's pain, it's a lot of control, a lot of fear-based energy being projected from governmental officials and all kinds of other places that's really keeping everyone at a fear frequency. And we cannot have that. So now the divine feminine, the matriarch, she's rising again. Why? Because the divine feminine brings in the healing. She completes the energy to balance out the universal scales right now, where it's getting too destructive out here all over the world. And now the divine feminine has to rise to put things back in order, to bring healing to the collective, to raise the vibration frequency of love back again. And love brings what? Unity and not division. And for a long time, the past few centuries, maybe in the past few thousand years, it's been like that for a while, which is what I find funny is the beginning of time was the matriarch, it was the mother. And then over time it turned into the father and the male masculine energy. And even letting go of gender wars as well, because women and men being against each other, who's right, who's wrong, who's the lead and all this. We're now elevating it to a higher frequency where the divine feminine is equal to the masculine now. It's no longer one is the head and one is the other, one is the leader and the other one's the follower. It's how can we come together in universal alignment as one and merge into one? And this is where I'll start to talk about the biblical references, because let's go back to the beginning of Genesis when it came to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, a lot of people think they take the biblical story of Adam and Eve and the tree and the apple and the serpent very literal. We have to remember the whole Bible is allegorical. It's geographical facts, but it's also allegories. And a lot of people, when it comes to your spiritual eye, you cannot take the scripture serious. But this is one of the downloads I got. Spirit told me, go back into the story of Adam and Eve. And Spirit was revealing to me Adam and Eve were the representation of the divine masculine and the divine feminine principle universally. The serpent represents the Kundalini awakening. through sexual alchemy. The apple represented the knowledge of all there is. And what I find interesting is when the serpent said, clearly it is a lie that you cannot be as a god. And a lot of people who might not be on this part of their spiritual journey might not understand this, but you are a god and goddess. You are in the likeness of the creator. The creator and the source is within you. But in order for the masculine and feminine to merge together, they have to be awakened to come back together through sexual alchemy. And sexual alchemy is more than just physical sex. It is spiritual sex. It is the energy of two sides of oppositions merging its soul together through creative force. And that is what sexual alchemy is. And so we see here that is what's happening to the higher frequency of new love in this part of the collective right now that's evolving towards why the divine feminine is coming back. It's going back to the balance of the beginning of Genesis. That's one of the reasons why Eve was the first one to eat the apple, because she is the creator. She is the energy of creation itself. And so what does she do to Adam? Eat the apple as well. Why? Because in order for you to understand who you are, you have to open your consciousness. You have to allow yourself to die off the old you and emerge into this new you. And we see this, how it played out even in the crucifixion with the Messiah. They said that he died at number 33. 33 represents divine consciousness. What is divine consciousness? It's when the divine masculine and the divine feminine come together. So we are in the era of when they say that, oh, Christ is coming back. It's not necessarily coming in the place of, oh, it's just a man coming on clouds. It's Christ consciousness coming back. And what is Christ consciousness? The divine feminine. So the divine feminine is the light. She is the healing. She is duality. She is chaos and peace all in one. And so we see how that can be disrupted in the future events on what's going to happen surrounding Mother Nature. If you start to see way more natural disasters, Mother Nature has to bring chaotic things in order for things to get realigned. So we see that after neglecting the divine feminine for so long, how she's going to come back and fight. And she's not coming to fight. It's not necessarily fair, but she's coming in with divine justice and karmic retribution here. So in the future, we're going to see a lot of leaders who was not really supportive of the feminine. World leaders, you're going to see, is going to start to end very soon. There's going to be new leaders emerging that's more in alignment with universal love than just selfishness and greed, and so we see here how the masculine and the feminine is going to merge as one, where humanity comes together with that same love. And it's just going to be a domino effect. And I'm really, really super excited for this, because a lot of people are so gun-ho on the material world and the government and everything that's going on that they're not paying attention to the bigger picture of what's going on universally, that spirit is doing to the collective that's needed. We can no longer be in that space as a collective of destruction to each other. People who's not handling love responsibly is getting their karma right now. This full moon, the lunar eclipse in Libra, was saying that karmic retribution is coming to those who's been done wrong to. Karmic retribution being done to those who have hurt others intentionally. A lot of people, especially even in dating, has been so detached. People don't know commitment anymore. Everybody's going around loving frivolously, and it's not responsible. And so a lot of people is being taught here, even with the Saturn and Pisces transit, hey, you guys can't be like that anymore. You guys can't be the Lulu to your problems. You can't run from it. You can't keep having these destructive patterns and think you're going to get away with it. No, karma's coming back to spin a block on that. Why? Because we are responsible for our pain to heal through it. And when we are not, we are destructive to other people. We have to be more responsible with love now. We can no longer go into this new earth, this new higher frequency in the fourth dimension with low vibrational tendencies of trying to operate from a place of no love, and apathic behavior. There's no room for that anymore. So we are elevating to that. Now, another download that did come to me in my spirit was actually surrounding 333 on my timer as I say this here. I find it interesting how the number 144,000 biblically, and it's so crazy because this download came to me yesterday or the day before yesterday, 1515 on the timer as I say this, that, there's this energy here where Spirit was like, I need you to go back to understand what the 144,000 people meant. Now, anybody who's read about the 144,000 biblically in the book of Revelations, they were talking about Israel, and how all the 12 tribes of Israel, 12,000 apiece, would be protected from this Christ return, or from the plagues and things that can happen, right? And so Spirit was like, it has nothing to do with that. It's all allegorical again. What is Israel? Is Isis, Ra, El, the energies of the masculine and the feminine coming back together as one, represents Israel when you break it down to Is, Ra, and El. Ra represents sun, spirit, consciousness. El, masculine, is feminine, Isis. So a lot of people don't even realize, breaking that down, what that really actually meant. But the 144,000 actually has an astrological connotation to it. And, it's really interesting because when I was getting this download from Spirit, there was like only people who are channelers and master astrologers would have been able to comprehend this allegorical code that's actually in the Bible. And so what is the numbers of 144,000? We'll get into the 3 zeros in a minute, but it's got a Hebraic energy surrounding those numbers. Anyone who is into esoteric knowledge, some of the most old ancient languages that were heavily connected to the upper realms, ancient upper realms, was Hebrew, Aramaic, as well as Latin too. Those were really strong languages used on the spiritual side that ancients have used for a very, very long time. But the number one is Aleph in Hebrew, which is a chief, a leader, ally, or close friend. But when we break it down to the planet in the zodiac sign, we see the planet of the sun is connected to 144. Now, the sun, like we said, represents spirit. It represents the conscious shift. And I just find it interesting because the first zodiac is Aries, and we're literally going into a solar eclipse in Aries for the next 6 months. There's literally 4 or 5 planets, including the North Node in Aries right now. So we see that Spirit is literally making a universal push that is needed to materialize the new energy that's supposed to manifest this conscious shift with the number one of the 144,000. With the number 4 is Dalet. And the planets is connected to Rahu, which is North Node, as well as Uranus and Saturn. Now, Rahu represents the ascension of the moon, the ascension of the feminine. So I was just like, okay, Spirit, I see where you're going with this here. North Node in astrology also deals with a spiritual mission, a soul mission, a destiny shift as well when it comes to North Node. Something that is destined to shift in due time for the highest elevation of the collective deals with 4. Now, just to break down a little bit more with Uranus and Saturn, a lot of people don't realize that the light sun and the light moon actually gets energy from the dark sun, which is Aquarius. And a lot of people did not know that. So you can see how the age of Aquarius is actually manifesting these celestial shifts at this time, universally and astrologically, universally as well. But Uranus and Saturn always breaks cycles. Okay, so whatever systematic things that goes on to the collective, Uranus and Saturn always breaks away those issues to create a new society reform, universally speaking, all over the world. Saturn comes to break things down, an old foundation to help rebuild, and Uranus comes in as the spiritual activation to that. So we see here with this 144,000, two fours, four also represents what Dalet, a door or a gateway in Hebrew. So a lot of people don't realize that the two fours equaling 8, we are in an 8 year, and how that door and gateway is opening to a new level of ascension is manifesting through the number 1 in 144,000. Now, what's even more interesting is fourth sign in the zodiac is Cancer energy, which is the sister sign to Capricorn. Capricorn is naturally ruled by Saturn. So Capricorn is the dark moon, whereas, Cancer is the light moon. But just to break this down a little bit more, a lot of people always look at the zodiac wheel from Aries all the way to Pisces from left to right. But if you really look from listen to right to left, the reason why the original zodiac wheel needs to be read through right to left, because ascension starts in the east. It doesn't start in the west. So how can it start on the left side, on the west, when the east is actually rising from the sun? And so, when you look at it backwards, Cancer is actually at the top of the chart, which is anytime you see energy at the top of a zodiac wheel chart, it means the most ascended. So we see here how there's a correlation to this 144,000 energy, and Cancer is ruled by the moon, which is the feminine, the light energy here. So we see here that this ascension surrounding Aries going all the way to Cancer. And the funny thing is that Aries is the original divine masculine sign in astrology, while Capricorn is actually the divine feminine. So a lot of people think Cancer is, but it's not. The thing is that with Capricorn energy here, it is the energy of the cosmic wound at the beginning, as they said in the first chapter in Genesis, and all it was dark and then light came. And dark energy is creation itself, the cosmic wound space, Capricorn, the dark side of the moon of creation itself. So we see these energies merging into this self. Even looking up the energy which is north, which means left or below. The north is left to the rising sun. So north means to bind or be at a point of intersection. So we see here there's going to be a lot of we see these two dimensions crossing over in the gateway portal to ascend the collective to the new fourth dimension. And what I find interesting, that is elevating to the fourth dimension when it is connected to fours in 144,000. Now let's go into what the zeros is supporting that energy in 144,000, because a lot of people, biblically, they don't even realize when they see, well, okay, why does the 144,000 talking about the tribes of Israel? It's an allegory, guys. The 12 tribes represents the 12 zodiacs. And a lot of people have that wheel over their head, just like the 12 disciples biblically. So it's just really interesting. A lot of people is not correlating both and both together. And so if you pay attention to what the messenger said, he said in the scriptures, hey, we cannot allow everything to manifest yet until these specific tribes are sealed, 12,000 of them. And the reason why Spirit said that is because 12 represents completion. It is the sign of Pisces in the zodiac. And the Pisces energy represents endings of karmic cycles. So they're saying, hey, this cycle of the zodiac has to be complete. This sign of the zodiac all the way to the 12. Why? Because when all 12 zodiacs are in energetic completion, it actually activates divine consciousness, the 13th sign. So a lot of people don't realize the 13th sign of the 12 zodiacs is the ether. If people ever pay attention to the zodiac wheel, there's always the sun in the middle, which represents when all 12 zodiac signs are mastered, even in someone's natal chart astrologically. When all 12 zodiacs is mastered, because we all have 12 zodiacs in our energies, this is when we start to expand in divine consciousness, the number 33. And so if you guys ever listen back to my Pamion episode, there was a channeling where Pamion actually legit said, hey, you have to tell the collective to stay connected to the to the umbilical cords, the universal umbilical cords. Why? Because there's 33 vertebrae to the spine that's in the back of the neck. The back of the neck is connected to consciousness shift, which is also heavily connected to the pineal gland in the front of the head. So a lot of people do not realize that when Pamian was talking, he was actually literally saying, hey, there's going to be a constant shift in elevation where physical health is not going to matter. Nothing in this material is going to matter if you're not connected to your spiritual side, if you're not connected to the higher upper realms, your higher self, your ascended masters, your angels, your spirit guides. If you're not trying to elevate your spiritual frequency, your physical body is not going to be able to take this new frequency, evolving into the collective. So you're going to see a lot more people getting sick. You're going to see a lot more people just dying and dropping dead. And it's going to be a mass death. Some of this can be in the form of a major disease to come out to even test people's frequency to see if their frequency is where it needs to be. That's why during COVID, there were some people who easily got sick, some who passed away. But every person I have talked to who had COVID and they was actually able to get off of COVID said they went through a whole spiritual awakening during COVID. COVID was more than just a sickness. It was a spiritual sickness. And people who was not willing to evolve their spiritual sickness died. And I remember talking about this before COVID even blew up back in March. I think, what was this, 2018, 2019? So I was literally saying 3-4 months prior when I got that channeling message before, I said, there's going to be a mass death. It's going to be a mass clearing, because it was in preparation of the new earth, or it was in preparation of the new higher elevation frequency. And we're going to have another purging like that in the future. It could happen this year. It could happen 2025. It doesn't matter. But if you are spiritually connected and you are allowing yourself to evolve and you're going through your healing like you need to, you will have nothing to worry about. It will get to the point that spiritual health will overpower everything else. There's going to be people out here who are going to be sick trying to find cures and stuff and trying to figure out why things are not working. Because you have to expand your consciousness. You have to be spiritually connected in divine alignment with the mind, body, and spirit. You have to be elevating to the higher frequency of love of self so it can be outward towards others. Because love is what's going to raise the vibration of the collective here, guys. So what is this triple zeros representing? The 3 zeros represents the Holy Trinity, the masculine, which is the Father, feminine, the Holy Spirit, and the Son, which represents mankind. It represents renewal, awakening. Number 3 is also the mother energy. It's the number of creation, the creatrix. Number 4 solidifies it in the material world with 144. And so we see here the earth energy is a part of the consciousness, the Christ, what the Messiah energy represented biblically. So, a lot of people who is just sitting here afraid of all that's going on and what's shifting is because we're now in a space where we're literally leaving an old timeline, an old dimension that is outdated. And so a lot of us who are ahead of the game, a lot of us who are spiritually connected is seeing the totality of this, especially as oracles, because we're always here to give you guys universal collective messages. But this is the key to how to move forward. And if you allow yourself to get too caught up in the material world and what's going on in an external life with everyone else, you're going to be missing out on staying connected to the universal timeline. So the objective is moving forward is what? Moving forward towards the universal timeline. I hope this all resonate with you guys. I love you guys so much. Hopefully this give you some time to really sit and think and really dig deep on, because this was something that was straight from the spirit realm and I was not expecting this. But I love you guys so much and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Hey, welcome to the Goddess Hour. So in this episode, we're going to talk about a download that I received from Spirit. And this download I have been getting probably for